Guys, what's up? It's me, Thomas. Tonight we're back here with How to Beat. Today's How to Beat is How to Beat the Godzilla-like alien in Cloverfield. Yep. Fall from the skies. Work in New York City. Our group of survivors had to escape the carnage. So, let's see if they made the right decisions and see how we would survive it. So, be sure to like, subscribe for more. Hope you guys enjoy it. Let's go.
If you were trapped in Manhattan with a terrifying monster ready to kill you at any second, what would you do? I'm going to break down the mistakes made,
get out of
what
the
you should
streets,
do, and
get a
how
weapon.
to beat the alien monster in Cloverfield.
Let's begin.
This group of friends are about to find out that a gigantic beast is headed to New York City. Staying at his girlfriend Beth's place in the middle of Manhattan with a camcorder, Robert here looks around at pictures of Beth's family before walking into the girl's room and waking her up. Later, Robert plays around with his girlfriend and Beth reveals that she's never been to Coney Island. He insists that they go ASAP while Beth takes the camera, asking what else he wants to do today. 1 month later, Rob's brother Jason is walking through New York City with his girlfriend Lily as he messes around with the camcorder settings, trying to figure out how the device works. At a store, he questions why she was insisting he bring the camera, and the woman reveals she wants him to film testimonials from the guests they're inviting to his brother's going away party. Later that day, Jason walks over to his buddy Hudson. He asks the man to help him walk around the party and film it for him instead. The man is hesitant to agree, but Jason mentions that a girl he likes will be at the party, convincing the man to take his job. He turns the camera around to Jason, who wishes his brother luck in Japan, saying that he loves him and asking to get the recording.
Sounds fun.
Later, he runs into Lily, who questions why Hudson is holding the camera. He confesses that Jason told him to do it, but he's taking the job seriously and asks Lily for a testimonial of her own. She jokes that Robert is leaving her to take care of his brother all on her own, but that's when Jason interrupts to question what she's talking about. Intercutting, Lily gives a heartwarming message to Jason's brother and wishes him well, admitting that she sees him as a brother too. Seeing his crush, Hudson zooms in while Lily finishes her speech, realizing that he just messed up the recording. Later, he psychs himself up to interview his crush, Marlena, before swerving the camera and pointing it into another friend's face. Afterwards, the man walks up to Marlena and asks about Jason's brother, asking for her to make a speech for his going away party. He insists the girl say something, but she refuses to give him an answer. That's when he walks behind the board to force a confession out of her. She gives in and wishes the man good luck in his future, realizing that they've only met a few times blackout drunk. Marlena asks Hudson to hand over a business card before she has to leave on a retreat with her company. Hudson tries to strike up a conversation, but the girl walks off to get food, completely ignoring his advances.
Ouch.
Okay, these people are all having a heartwarming evening. There's seemingly nothing going wrong here, but there's something that Rob could have done to get him and his friends out of New York City before any of this ever happened. The date of Rob and Beth's recording before the party is 1 month prior to the night of Rob's going away party, which means that Rob had the opportunity to review the tape an entire month before the party even started. If he had looked at the tape more carefully, he would have seen at the very end of it at 6:17 p.m. in the far right corner of the ocean, a satellite crashed into the water, creating a minor wave off the shore. Rob and Beth are far away from the ocean, so it makes sense for them not to notice it at the time. But someone had to have seen a piece of debris falling from outer space. Coney Island is a busy location with lots of people frequenting the amusement park, and the falling object would have been directly in their eye line. If something fell into the ocean off the coast of New York City, it would have caused tons of questions. Not only would it have been highly monitored by the government, but it would have to be reported to the public as well. Even if somehow nobody on land saw the satellite crash, NASA would have had to have picked up on it. Satellites don't crash into the ocean every day for no reason, and there would have had to have been a search mission for NASA to figure out what the satellite was. Not only would they have found the satellite, but they would have found the creature that's about to wreak havoc on all of these people's lives. In the case of the government was trying to cover up their findings, then Rob has an important piece of footage that could have led him to this conspiracy. Regardless, a giant prehistoric-looking Godzilla-type beast doesn't just rise from the ocean without there being warning signs or reason for it to have happened. And if Rob had paid attention to the weird satellite, then they would have known something terrible was coming. Upstairs,
well, to be fair, I doubt a Godzilla-like alien here would be the first thing on their mind. It'd be like, oh, look at that. The satellite fell right in our line of sight. But look, I don't know. That would be my first thought process, so not sure if I would, like, think of like that. But, I mean, if they were asking for it, I'd be like, huh, look at that. I remember something like that. Turn it over. So, like I said, no cause for concern, so I think we all be in this party regardless, since, you know, doubt any of us could have realized, yep, kind of an alien invasion coming. Anyway,
They get ready to celebrate the main man, Rob, who walks in to see dozens of his friends wishing him good luck. Shocked, he questions how they managed to set this up without his knowledge. He's given a drink, and the crowd demands he make a speech. Rob tells them that he was completely taken aback by the surprise, thanking his friend Lily for organizing this, but he cuts it short and tells everyone to get partying. Later, Hudson interviews the main man so he can watch it before he moves to Japan. The man acts uninterested before admitting that it was a pleasant surprise. He questions Hudson on whether Beth is making an appearance. The night rages on as the partygoers continue to get more and more wasted, while this couple enters the apartment. Jason questions who this new guy is, and Rob walks over to say hi to his now ex-girlfriend, Beth, being introduced to her friend Travis,
awkward.
who congratulates him on the new role as vice president. Hudson stuffs the camera in the new man's face, while the brothers tell him to enjoy the evening. Hudson films the new couple mingling with other guests, before panning the camera over to Rob, walking over to make sure everything's okay. That's when he asks if Hudson is using his camera, wondering if he switched the tape so as to not overwrite what was previously there. And unfortunately, the man confirms he didn't. Confused, Hudson questions why he seems so down as the man continues to pound down drinks. Later, the cameraman walks over to Beth and asks her to film a testimonial for Rob's goodbye party. She's reluctant to give an answer, telling her new man to go over and fetch a drink. Nervous, she asks to do it in the kitchen, looking away from the camera as she addresses their relationship, congratulating him on his new job, and confessing that she's going to miss her ex. That's when Rob pulls her over to have a private conversation, and Hudson tells his brother that something is going on between the ex-couple outside. He quietly records the two fighting about her new man before spotting Hudson. Lily tells them to get back inside, mentioning that not everything has to be documented. The cameraman continues to push Lily and demand to know what they were arguing about, but she refuses to give an answer. Jason gets involved, cornering her in the kitchen and insisting she reveal what's going on. Lily gives in, but only under the condition that they stop filming. Lowering the camera, she tells him that Rob and Beth slept together a few weeks ago, and she promised not to mention anything since. That's when Hudson walks over to his other friends to inform them about the shocking news. And Hudson walks over to Marlena next to tell her what happened, bothering the other partygoers who refuse to believe Hudson and insist that he's trying to stir up drama. That
does sound like okay, let's be real. Would be. Because first chance he gets, goes in, like after he hears that, after spying on them, he goes around, tells everybody about what just happened. Dude, really? Okay. I don't think even I would be that kind of a dick. Gotta admit, that is a dick move. Like,
that's when he spots Beth and her new man walking out of the party, wishing Rob luck one more time on his new job before he makes a snide remark to the new boyfriend. Later, Lily insists that he and Jason make sure that he's okay. They speak with the heartbroken man, who admittedly did sleep with each other, but their relationship fell apart so they split up. Jason tells his brother that Beth is way out of his league, and going to Japan isn't going to magically fix all of his problems, but they insist that he try to chase after her one last time. Suddenly, the whole city rumbles from an impact, causing all the city lights to shut off temporarily. The partygoers freak out.
Yeah, that's a cue. Okay, let's get down before
a live TV broadcast, which informs them of a potential earthquake in Lower Manhattan. An oil tanker has capsized in New York Harbor next to the Statue of Liberty. Everyone is terrified, and they don't realize that a gigantic monster is about to crash the party. Okay, these people have all just felt their entire building shake in the middle of Rob's going away party. There aren't typically earthquakes in New York City, and the idea of being up in a building while the city shakes beneath me is absolutely terrifying. If it were me, as soon as I saw the news broadcast, I would get the heck out of the apartment and flee from the city
downstairs
altogether.
go.
Now, New York City is not known for its earthquakes, so this would definitely lead me to think that
out of the ordinary, run.
There are approximately 6 fault lines that run through Manhattan, and the city has had some earthquakes before, but it's still very uncommon. And there's only ever been 2 earthquakes that have caused any real damage to the city. In the case of an earthquake, the best case scenario is to be on the ground in an open area away from buildings, telephone poles, and large trees, which means that New York City is one of the worst places you could be when one strikes. Being somewhere like Central Park away from the trees would be the best place in the city, but as soon as I left the building, I would realize there's actually a giant monster in the loose and would have to reassess my plans. However, my immediate thought would be that this was a terror attack. Since the shaking came from below, I would think that either a different building nearby has fallen, or a bomb has gone off on the ground. Being upstairs high in a building still isn't good in either of these situations, but if something has exploded, it's always better to be inside away from windows and falling glass. Rather than leave at this exact moment before I know what's going on, a good compromise would be to first take the stairs instead of the elevator down to the bottom floor of the building in case the electricity stops working. Then, I would see if the building itself has a basement or a below ground shelter that can shield me from falling debris, because if a terrorist attack is happening, the ground will shield me from the weight of crashing buildings, and since there's actually a monster on the loose, I would be safe from the impact of its feet. Since the monster is on the loose and is moving, eventually I would feel less shaking and impact to the ground above me as it travels across the city, and would make my move to flee in whatever direction looks like the monster didn't go. Jason's—
That actually would be a good idea. So honestly, I would make sure to realize, okay, there's subway. Use that to, at least figure out the map, because that way, see which way is the closest station to out of town. Go there, boom, out you go. Just saying, find the place where the monster ain't gonna go after you. Go from there. I don't know. Hard to say, again, no idea what the monster is there, but still, if I felt that, I'll go outside, just look. Uh-oh. And then down to the bottom floor before things get hairy. No stop, just go. And just hope for the best. Anyway, let's see what they do.
Suggests that they go on the roof and look for signs confirming the news report, convincing others to follow him. Suddenly, they spot a massive explosion in the city.
Yeah, and you got the balcony, just use that. Oh boy.
In their direction. The partygoers sprint back into the fire exit while all hell breaks loose. Terrified, they head downstairs into the streets, where hundreds of other civilians are fleeing in a panic. The partygoers lose sight of Jason, not being able to see him among the panicked civilians. Suddenly, a flying object hits this tall building, sending debris shooting right towards the partygoers. Civilians begin to take photos of the Statue of Liberty's head, while Jason reunites with his girlfriend. Suddenly, they spot a glimpse of a live creature from in between the high-rise buildings. Another building in the distance falls down, causing debris and clouds of dust to spread in their direction. The crowd runs for their lives and heads indoors to shield themselves from the danger. The smog quickly blocks any sight of the outside world as the lights are shut off completely. They notice people caught in the dust cloud and the lights turn back on, when suddenly the windows break open and a mist of smoke enters the store. The group begs him not to leave, but reluctantly follows him and sees what's happening outside. Fire and debris have covered the streets of Manhattan, leaving it almost unrecognizable. Hudson looks back to see the partygoers arguing over what happened. The cameraman overhears people discussing a strange monster, and Jason demands to see the recording. Hudson tells the crowd of people that he has footage, and they watch it together, spotting a glimpse of the creature. Jason tries to reason with the group of panicked civilians, insisting that all they can do is leave Manhattan and look for safety. The cameraman points to Lily, who questions what's coming next. Shocked from the incident, Marlena here mentions that the creature was eating people before they head off in a group to somewhere safer. They continue across Brooklyn Bridge as police direct them across, informing them of what to do once
Are you sure it's a good idea to go across a bridge at this point?
Camera at Rob here, who's talking to his ex-girlfriend Beth on the phone, insisting that she calm down and describe her location. Hudson then swivels the camera around to see a mix of panicked civilians, helicopters, and chaos on the bridge. He zooms in on Jason hanging from the light pole and asks the man why they stopped moving. Suddenly, a giant tail smashes the bridge in half, right where Jason was. Lily freaks out, seeing her boyfriend disappear, and the cameraman runs away, watching as the bridge behind him falls to pieces. Making it into Brooklyn, Marlena here stops Lily, who is devastated that her boyfriend is dead. Hudson walks over to Rob here, apologizing for his loss, while pointing the camera to a group of thieves raiding a convenience store. Angling the camera back to Rob, he sees the man in complete disbelief of what's happening. Hudson tries to get his attention and watches as he pulls out a phone, telling the others that his battery's dead. Suddenly, he runs off, and Hudson chases the man down into the store. He points the camera towards a TV showing the New York Bridge collapsed, and this mysterious creature causing absolute chaos in lower Manhattan. That's when he notices military vehicles passing by outside, demanding that the civilians clear the area immediately. The cameraman looks back at Rob to see him scouring the shelves before noticing these shoplifters staring blankly at the news. They watch as an alien-like creature destroys the streets of Manhattan, but then they notice small objects falling from above and quickly realize that these are actually living creatures that begin attacking everyone around them. Okay, there's a monster on the loose, and these people have come to face with it now. It's destroying everything in its path, and nobody knows what to do. New York City is full of people, and there's a giant Godzilla-like creature destroying buildings left, right, and center. A bridge is just as vulnerable to the creature's attacks, and taking people out of the city above ground is bound to be a disaster if the monster shows up. Even if the monster doesn't get the New Yorkers, panic could create a stampede, causing people to die while fleeing. The military should have taken everyone underground and funneled them out of the city through the subway systems. The New York City subway system runs all the way up and down Manhattan, Queens, and into Brooklyn, which means that everyone can get far away from the monster without ever having to go above ground. Right now, the monster is in downtown Manhattan, and by bringing people down into the subways, they could help walk them out to the outer boroughs, where more military aid can take them as far away from the city as possible. The military is trying to contain the monster, and by bringing everyone underground, they can use bombs and missiles to take it down, while not suffering civilian casualties. One of the problems
I'm surprised that they haven't tried the military escort, like, yes, that's that down to the subway. Like, New Yorkers, they know better. Also, his thought process is to get a phone charger. Like, dude, at the time, we gotta go. Ugh. Anyway,
problems with going into the underground is the threat of smaller monsters that are falling off the larger monster, crawling down into the subway, and getting the New Yorkers. But if the military has some soldiers down in the subways, with the civilians leading the way, with their assault rifles, then they'll be able to effectively clear a path for everyone to walk. The monster has destroyed buildings, but it hasn't broken down into the underground yet, so it might be strong, but not strong enough to break down into the pavement. By hiding people out of sight, it will stay focused on the military forces that are attacking it, giving Rob and the other New Yorkers the opportunity to escape. It's unknown how smart the monster actually is, but based on the fact that its attacks are mostly carried out through brute force, it doesn't seem particularly strategic.
And no special powers,
Rob and his friends might be able to get away just by outsmarting it. The girls run over to Rob and demand they leave the store right now, but he's too busy taking a phone call. Rob tells him to quiet down for a second, receiving a distressing voicemail from his ex that an apartment wall fell on her and she can't move. He decides to head for his ex's apartment in Midtown to rescue her, knowing that the monster is right there. He tells the others to follow the military, while he insists that his mind isn't going to be changed. That's when Lily here volunteers to tag along, but Marlene tries to stop them, mentioning that the girl could already be dead. They walk through the deserted streets, when suddenly the monster's leg appears from behind the building, and a missile is sent flying overhead. The group runs away from the military's gunfire, as Hudson films the soldiers running towards the monster, while his friends hide in a staircase. In the tunnel, Rob looks around for a place to go, suggesting they cross to another platform and check the streets from there. Hudson insists there's no point, while the man continues to think of a way to reach Beth's house. Later, they wait around, and Rob here receives a call from his mom. Picking up the call, he pretends they're currently being evacuated, but tells her that Jason is dead. Later, Hudson and Marlena notice the others doing something in the corner. They walk over to check out what's going on, and Rob here shows them the train line of New York Metro, revealing there's a direct route through the tracks, which leads to Beth's apartment. Noticing the lights flicker on and off, they decide to walk the pitch-black tunnels to find their missing friend. They spot rats running through the dark, heading in a single direction. Rob suggests that they could be running away from something, and the group decides to get out once they reach the next station. That's when they hear a disturbing sound coming from behind.
Go!
Keeping quiet, Rob helps the cameraman turn on the night vision, when suddenly they spot these terrifying spider-like creatures hanging from above and run for their lives. Okay, Rob is absolutely crazy. Instead of trying to leave New York with the rest of the city, he's decided to make his way uptown to where Beth is trapped inside her building. Marlena is the only voice of reason here when she says that Beth is a goner and they need to leave. But unfortunately, nobody listens to her, and they're all about to pay the consequences. If it were me, while the military fights off giant prehistoric creatures, then before going down into the subway without backup, I would find myself the strongest weapon I can find to help protect me against anything I come up against. Rob and his friends are smart to go down into the subway system. The subway's been shut down and no trains are running, but walking through the underground tunnels is the safest way to travel without coming face to face with the monster. The problem that Rob and his friends have is that they have absolutely no protection. They think that they're going to be safe from the giant monster thing above ground, but they're forgetting that it's shedding other little monsters that could crawl down into the subway and get them. There are plenty of dead people above ground. Many of them are soldiers that no longer need their assault rifles or protective gear too. Rather than head straight first down the tunnel, I would run upstairs and grab as many assault rifles as I can find and arm the 5 of us with them. The weapons are doing little damage.
Better have some protection and none.
So they could be useful when it comes to having to deal with the little ones. The other thing that Rob and his friends are forgetting is that Beth sounded injured in her voice message. She mentioned being pinned under underneath the wall. It's no use going to get her if she's going to bleed out when they get there.
Yeah,
So
true.
grabbing any kind of emergency gear that a dead medic may have on them could be useful down the line. The friends also need to be aware of where they're actually going at all times, so they don't get lost and turned around. So if they can grab a compass off of a dead body too, it will point north and guide them up.
Basically scavenge
The friends
and
should
run.
be prepared to find other people down there and try to start forming alliances with others. There might be other people on similar missions, and if they can band together with more people, it increases their chances of survival against any monsters they come upon. Marlena is attacked by one of the monsters as the group pulls it off, while Hudson here is attacked himself. Marlena attacks the creature and is pushed down before Hudson kicks another creature off of her. Acting quickly, they run into the side room for safety and hold back the spiders from following them inside. Hudson picks the camera up and cleans the stains off before pointing the camera towards Marlena, showing off her brutal wounds. Rob here opens up a vending machine to grab water to clean the girl's wounds. Confused, Hudson questions why the creatures seem to be dragging him away somewhere and thanks Marlena here for saving his life. The cameraman approaches Rob, mentioning that Marlena is in a pretty bad state. They're stuck inside this underground room with bloodthirsty monsters outside. Without any other options, Rob tells them they have to do something or else die a terrible death. The group walk through this mystery door and arrive at the 59th Street train station. They head towards the exit, find themselves at a brightly lit part of the station behind these glass doors. Hudson calls out for any survivors, but that's when they notice that something is wrong with Marlena. She insists that she's fine, and they continue walking forward, when suddenly a group of soldiers arrive and hold them up. They agree to follow their orders and come along, while Rob pleads they give the injured girl medical assistance. They're led into a room full of injured civilians. That's when this soldier announces that they're leaving in 15 minutes. Hudson continues to bother the soldier about Marlena's injury, but he's forced away, and Hudson is ordered to shut off his camera. Later, Rob argues about being taken on a chopper away from the disaster zone, admitting that he needs to head after his ex-girlfriend, and refuses to take no for an answer. That's when the cameraman pans over to Marlena, and they realize the injured girl's in critical condition. Seeing this, the medics take her away as the others try to stop them, looking over as Marlena suddenly explodes, and they're dragged away into an outer tunnel. This soldier insists there's nothing they can do and tells his subordinates to prepare the choppers for rescue. Shocked, the group wonders what the hell just happened with their friend before the soldier escorts them through the tunnel. He tells Rob here that he won't stop them from looking for their friend, but warns them that the government is thinking of blowing up the whole of Manhattan to get rid of this alien threat. He informs the group that the airlifts are leaving from 40th and Park, but the last one will be escaping the island at 6 a.m. That means if they arrive any later, the group will be blown up along with the rest of the city. Okay, Rob here is really risking it all for the sake of love. He has the perfect opportunity to get the heck out of there with the military guys.
Stay for the girl
to find his ex-girlfriend. They're being completely stupid here by not going with the military, but if Rob still insists that he go out in search of Beth, he should at least ask for some protective gear and weapons. These men are all trained members of the armed forces and are being absolutely annihilated by these things. Rob and his friends are ready to charge back out into the unknown without anything to face the danger, and they don't have any kind of training that has prepared them for this moment. Sure, some of these military guys have still taken some serious damage, but they've just seen what's happened to Marlena and should do everything in their power to prevent an avoidable bite, if possible. If Marlena had more than just her shirt to protect her, then the monster bite may not have broken through her skin and caused her critical damage. The friends have also arrived in the general vicinity of Beth's apartment, so they aren't planning to go back underground anytime soon. That means that they should try to find ways to spend as little time outside in the open as possible. Using a car isn't a possibility because the roads are a mess and too difficult to maneuver in a large vehicle. But if they find a motorcycle or bike, they can use it to zip from street to street in no time at all. Before Rob and his friends leave, they should also try to coordinate the time that they're on the way to Beth's at a moment when the military is engaging in an attack on the monster farther away from where they are. Right now, they have this guy here willing to help them, and by fully understanding what their next plan of action is, the friends can time out where they should be and when to avoid the monster as much as possible. It's best to do this while the military is attacking the monster, so it will be too busy fighting them off to escape and make its way down similar roads to Rob and his friends. The soldier...
Yeah, honestly, I'm surprised they haven't decided. But I'm going with... If I was there, I would have been like, boy, going back for a girl that left you. I'm out. Hey, army dude, can I ride with you? I'm so getting out of here any chance I can get. Just saying, don't be the last one out. That monster's gonna notice you and probably knock you out of the sky. No, just saying, that's what I would do. I ain't sticking around. Seriously, I got a family. I'm not going. I'm not leaving. I'm not saying sorry. Wait.
Direction the 58th Street, and the group follows his direction while they discuss what went wrong with Marlena. Rob here walks over, telling them they need to go now and find Beth. Walking over to her apartment's location, they find the entire building crumpled over. Rob mentions that she lives on the 39th floor and suggests they head inside to see what they can do. They rush into the apartment, with Rob here finding that all the elevators have stopped operating. Walking up the fire exit, they make it to the upper floors of the apartment, hearing a beeping alarm go off and realizing they've nearly reached the top. Rob checks the 57th floor and estimates that there are only 2 more floors left, continuing until they find themselves at the roof. Rob insists that they keep going and helps Silly climb down to the other building. Hudson turns the camera over to himself, telling the viewers that if the camera turns off, he's dead before stepping forward. The group make their way through the slanted rooftop and reach this fire exit into safety. Downstairs, Rob finds his ex-girlfriend's apartment, kicking down the door, and heads inside to look for her. They find Beth impaled on a metal rod, and the injured girl wakes up, questioning if they really made it. Rob insists that she's okay, when Beth realizes the state that she's in. Putting the camera down, the group pulls her off the rod and tie up her wound as she screams in pain. Suddenly, they see the creature outside of her window and take the woman out of the apartment room, getting back into the slanted rooftop. That's when fighter jets overhead drop bombs onto the alien, and the group realizes that they need to get out now before it's too late. Okay, the monster is right outside the window, and there's no way to avoid having to leave this building and run like hell. Beth is severely injured, and the military is going to blow this whole place off the map by 6 a.m. Rob and his friends need to get to the helicopters ASAP, or else they're going down with the entire city. But problem number 1 is not getting killed by the creature while they make their way to the helicopter. Which is why, if it were me, I would create a distraction to draw the creature away from me while I run from this building. The creature seems to be responsive to attacks and recognizes when humans are around and goes to seek them out in order to kill them. This building here is on its last leg, and if I can convince the creature that something or someone is in this building once I'm far enough away from it, then it will draw the creature to the building while I make my last mad dash across the city. Rob and his friends are trying to get in and out of this building as quickly as possible, so they aren't testing to see if the light and the water in the apartment are working. Before I left the apartment building, I would turn all the apartment faucets on full blast. That way, all of the tubs, showers, and sinks will eventually overflow into the apartment. Rob and his friends still have to walk 57 floors back down to the road, so this will give the room plenty of time to fill up with water as they make their way down the stairs. The top of this building is hanging on by a thread. Rob and his friends even walk around very carefully to make sure they don't throw their weight around out of fear of it crumbling beneath them. The weight of excess water in the room and it running down through the floors should just cause enough damage to finally make this thing crumble. The hope is that the crumbling building will then collapse on itself, drawing the monster towards it, while my friends and I arrive at the helicopter pad and fly off into the sunset. This is super dangerous because the building could collapse while they are still near it, but making the transition from one building to another quickly is crucial. It would have been helpful if the friends had driven over to the building in bikes or motorcycles to again ease the travel between one location and another. They run inside to the other building, but that's when a spider-like creature drops from the ceiling. Rob manages to stop it with an axe, and they make it downstairs to the lobby, running through the streets as all hell breaks loose. They spot the monster's leg and head down the street, where rescue helicopters have been waiting. Rushing over to safety, the soldiers take Lily into the vehicle to be evacuated from the city, and inform the others that they need to wait for the next chopper as she's taken away. The group head towards a second rescue chopper, and they're warned that the army will begin a bombing run on the creature. Flying above the city, Hudson watches the monster wreak havoc on Manhattan. That's when he spots a fighter jet drop bombs into the monster, and watches as it seems to go down in a cloud of smoke. Suddenly, it jumps towards their helicopter, sending the vehicle crashing down while they fear for their lives. Waking up from the crash, the survivors realize Rob is in critical condition, and they pull him out of the helicopter as he screams in pain. As they're about to head for cover, Hudson runs back to grab the camera and doesn't notice the gigantic creature until it's right above him. He freezes up while it looks at him directly in the face, lunging towards the man and sending his camera flying. Hudson is bitten in half, and there's nothing the friends can do to save him. The survivors run towards Central Park for cover and hide under this bridge. Rob and Beth realize that practically all of their friends are dead, and there's a terrifying monster still outside. Rob points the camera to himself, announcing the time is 6:42 a.m. on May 23rd, informing anyone who discovers the camera that an alien-like creature attacked the city exactly 7 hours ago. He points the camera over to Beth and asks her to say something. Panicked, Beth says that she has no idea what's going on when suddenly a bomb hits the bridge and covers them in rubble. They confess their love to each other before the footage cuts out. In the end, Beth and Rob learned a valuable lesson. Always be the first one on the helicopter. But what do you think?
Like I said, yeah. That monster came out and I had an opportunity. I was like, not my lover. Like, dude, if he's going on a quest for love, he's like, dude, play in movies. I'm leaving you. Bye. just saying, it's not gonna end well. Yeesh. And Lily was the one that got out of there. Yeah, yoy. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that one. Next time, like, subscribe for more. See ya.